Most men think women choose excitement. They don't. They choose emotional safety. And almost no one teaches men how to provide it. Here's what I've noticed. Some men walk into a room, and the emotional temperature drops, not because they're loud, but because they're steady. Not cold, not distant, steady. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn 5 specific behaviors that make a woman's nervous system relax, not through dating tricks, but through emotional discipline. And to be clear, this isn't about playing hard to get. It's not about becoming emotionally unavailable. If that's what you think, Stoicism is, you've missed the point. Stoicism doesn't remove emotion, it trains it. After years studying Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus Seneca, and listening to men right after their relationships collapsed, one pattern kept repeating. The men who stayed attractive under emotional pressure weren't more charming. They were more regulated. So let's break it down into 5 layers. Number 1, emotional stability. This is the difference between calm and safe, and most men don't know it. People think calm means cold, silence means distance, control means absence, but real emotional stability feels different. It feels regulating. Imagine a small moment of tension, not a dramatic fight, just that something's off feeling. A sharp comment, a long day, a misunderstanding. Most people do one of 2 things. They explode or they shut down. A Stoic man does neither. He stays present, not frozen, not detached. Present. He doesn't rush to fix the emotion. He doesn't rush to defend his ego. He lets the moment breathe. And something subtle happens. The room calms down, not because he demanded calm, but because his nervous system didn't escalate it. I once watched a couple at a cafe. She snapped over something small, tired and overwhelmed. He didn't argue. He didn't win. He said, quietly, "I'm here. Take a breath. We'll talk." Her shoulders dropped like someone finally put a weight down. That's what stability does. It tells the other person's body, "You're safe here. You don't need to fight." This isn't about never feeling anger. It's about anger not getting the steering wheel. Real Stoic calm sounds like, "I hear you. I need a moment. Let's talk when we're not trying to win." That's not weakness. That's mastery. Anyone can be charming when it's easy. Character shows up when tension enters the room. A Stoic man doesn't disappear when emotions get heavy. He doesn't weaponize silence. He becomes a stabilizing force. And that stability creates the foundation for the next layer, trust. Because emotional stability opens the door, but self-mastery is what keeps it open. Number 2, self-mastery. This is where most relationships quietly die. The first moment of uncertainty, delayed reply, a misunderstood tone, a situation where assumptions start whispering. You see seen, minutes pass, your chest tightens, your mind fills the gaps. Women notice this moment because this is where trust begins or erodes. Charm reacts fast. Self-mastery pauses. A charming man feels discomfort and tries to smooth it over immediately. Words, reassurance, explanations, sometimes pressure. A Stoic man feels the same spike and contains it, not by suppressing emotion, but by refusing to let emotion speak before clarity arrives. If you can't sit with uncertainty, you will turn love into interrogation. Self-mastery isn't about looking controlled. It's about being predictable under pressure. The real question isn't who you are when you feel secure. It's who you are when you don't. An impulsive man turns discomfort into action. Texts too much, pushes for answers, escalates tension. A Stoic man recognizes that moment as a test, not of the relationship, but of himself. He asks, is this reaction necessary or just urgent? So he slows down. He checks assumptions. He lets the wave pass before he speaks, and that restraint sends a signal. This man does not outsource his emotions to me. That's how trust takes root, not through intensity, but through emotional reliability. But here's the balance. Discipline without respect can turn cold. Restraint without clarity can turn distant. So we move to the next layer, respect without possession. Before we go on, quick check. When you feel uncertainty, what hits first? Comment one word, ego or clarity. Number 3, respect without possession. Control feels like care until it kills desire. There's a quiet fear inside many relationships. Not fear of being alone, fear of being controlled. It shows up in innocent questions that feel like interrogations, in reassurance that becomes monitoring, in affection with invisible strings. Most people don't intend to possess. They're afraid of losing. A Stoic man chooses a different response. He doesn't confuse love with ownership. Respect begins with autonomy. She is not an extension of your ego. She's a rational being with her own will. So he doesn't hover. He doesn't demand constant proof. But respect does not mean passivity. This isn't do whatever you want. That's avoidance dressed as freedom. A Stoic man is clear. He trusts and sets standards. He gives space and draws boundaries. He doesn't say, I don't care. He says, I care enough to be honest. He can say calmly, I trust you. And here's what I need in order to stay. No threats, no emotional leverage, just clarity. And if respect disappears, he doesn't chase explanations forever. He observes. If patterns don't change, he leaves with dignity, not to punish. Because integrity is non-negotiable. Now, autonomy creates space. But space without warmth can feel like distance. Which brings us to the next layer. Inner worth with reassurance. Number 4, inner worth. Here's the paradox. The men who don't beg for validation are the easiest to trust, if they still know how to reassure. There's a confidence that makes people lean in. Not loud, not performative. Settled. A Stoic man doesn't wake up asking, how do I look in their eyes? He asks, did I act in alignment with my values? When a man doesn't need validation, he stops competing for it. He doesn't fish for compliments. He doesn't perform affection to secure reassurance. He doesn't measure his worth by reactions. And that absence of hunger creates breathing room. But here's where Stoicism gets misused. Some men hide behind philosophy to justify emotional neglect. They say, I'm secure. I don't do emotional stuff. That's not Stoicism. That's fear wearing a mask. Not needing validation doesn't mean withholding reassurance. A Stoic man doesn't need reassurance, but he offers it deliberately. He says, I love you, not to be affirmed, but to affirm. His reassurance isn't driven by anxiety, so it feels clean, grounded, sincere. And because he's anchored, he doesn't compete with other men. He doesn't posture. He's not threatened by attention she gets elsewhere. He reassures not because he's afraid to lose her, but because he chooses to stay. Now, inner worth creates stability, but life doesn't stay gentle. Pressure returns, loss happens. And the real test is how you show up when life takes something away. That brings us to the final layer, resilience. Number 5, resilience. Anyone can love and comfort. Resilient men are the ones who stay human when life gets brutal. Relationships aren't tested in good times. They're tested when something breaks. A hospital call at 2 a.m., a job disappears. Parent gets sick. A dream collapses. This is where many men disappear, not physically, emotionally. Some collapse inward, withdraw, go silent, turn distance permanent. Others collapse outward, lash out, blame, turn stress into damage. A Stoic man chooses a harder path. He endures without disappearing. Resilience isn't pretending everything is fine. It's staying intact while reality rearranges itself. He acknowledges the weight, names what's happening, asks for space without turning it into abandonment. He can say, I'm carrying a lot right now. Give me a moment. I'll come back to this. And then he does. That return matters because disappearing teaches your partner to brace for loss. Returning teaches them to trust again. Toughness shuts down. Resilience stays connected. And at some point, often quietly, a realization settles in. This man isn't just enjoyable to love. He's safe to build a life with. So why do women choose Stoic men? Not because Stoic men are emotionless, but because they are emotionally reliable. Not because they dominate, but because they govern themselves. Not because they avoid attachment, but because they know how to hold it without fear. Attraction fades, chemistry fluctuates, but character remains. Tonight, when you feel the spike, pause 3 seconds. Name the story your mind is telling. Then ask one calm question. Is this true, or is this fear talking? And if you need clarity, can we talk when we're both steady? Do that once, just once, and you'll feel the difference. If you want the next video on how Stoic men handle conflict without losing attraction, don't miss the next one.